My friends didn't die from mental illness. They died from a philosophy. And that philosophy has a name, and a prescription pad, and a $30 billion annual revenue stream. And it has been killing people quietly for decades while this death certificate said something else. Today, we talk about it. I was 12 years old when I made the decision that probably saved my life. I flushed the pills down the toilet. Not because I was stupid, not because I was in any kind of denial, because something in me, something the system had no name for or interest in, already knew the premise was wrong. They had given me a diagnosis, several of them actually in a cornucopia. We've been over that. And with the diagnoses came an identity, a broken person requiring chemical management. That was supposed to be my life. 25 years later, my liver works, my lungs work, my heart works. I have built things, I have created things, I have survived things that would have ended people, running on a full pharmaceutical cocktail because the cocktail would have taken the edge off survival instinct long enough for everything else to finish the job. I'm not your cautionary tale. Never have been from the beginning. I am the counter argument against everything you have come to believe. So I want to tell you about some people I knew. Yes, in the past tense. And I'm not going to go into their names. They deserve way better than being turned into content. What I will tell you is what happened to them. They took the pills for years, for decades in some cases, because the doctors said to, because families said to, because the system said this is what you do with people whose minds work differently. And their bodies paid the tab. Liver damage, pulmonary damage, organs that were supposed to last a lifetime ground down to nothing by pharmaceutical load they carried because nobody told them there was another option. Nobody told them the premise was wrong. The death certificate said something clinical, something that didn't mention the 20 years of medication that created the conditions that finally killed them. The system that described the pills also writes the paperwork. Think about that. Think about them. Think about them every time someone tells me I need to get back on medication. Yeah, that shit makes me legitimately, humanly angry. And I know how much humanity disgusts humans these days. Every time the world decides my emotions are the problem, my emotions aren't the problem. Your lack of them and the philosophy that destroyed them is. Now, I want to get kind of philosophical with you. Because this isn't just about medication. This is about the worldview underneath the medication. The philosophy that made the pills inevitable. I bring 3 charges. Charge 1. The entire psychiatric pharmaceutical model is built on a false foundation. Meta-rationalism. And I'm going to ask you to stay with me here. This tells us that reality is not a physical matter. Reality is a mathematical mind. Consciousness is not a product of the brain. The brain is a product of consciousness. Which means when you hand someone a pill to fix their mind, you have already made a catastrophic philosophical error. You have decided that hardware is broken when the hardware isn't even the primary system. You cannot fix consciousness by poisoning matter. The model is wrong at the foundation. Every prescription written from that foundation inherits the error. And yes, I talk about my own mental health a lot and Carl Jung. That's because mental health is a lot more than in going to your dope slinger every month. Charge 2. They sold your people an inherited identity, then charged them for the privilege of wearing it. Neogenesis, the process of conscious self-creation, of becoming the architect of your own reality, is the antithesis of what the pharmaceutical system offers. The system offers you a diagnosis, a category, a managed existence. Nobody in that system benefits from you becoming a Neogenian. A person who has taken conscious control of their own mental landscape doesn't need a prescription renewed every 3 days. The system profits from patients, not from people who build themselves. Your friends never got offered the alternative. They got offered compliance. What you call your emotions, what your system calls your symptoms, are the universe experiencing itself through you. Cosmogenesis tells us that the consciousness is not separate from the cosmos. You are the cosmos in the process of self-reflection. Your grief, your rage, your joy, your fear, these are not malfunctions. These are the mechanism. This is what being alive actually looks like when you haven't been talked out of it. To chemically suppress as that is not medicine. It's cosmological vandalism. It's the universe being prevented from knowing itself through you. 3 charges. I rest the prosecution. And then there's the other side of this coin. Because the pharmaceutical industry doesn't have a monopoly on this particular crime, culture has been committing it for free for centuries. You know these people. Maybe you are one of these people. The ones who decided that feeling things was weakness, that grief was self-indulgence, that rage needed to be swallowed and fear needed to be hidden and joy needed to be rationed because too much made each of it made you look soft. So they built walls, they white-knuckled it. They performed strength so long, so hard, that performance became the only thing left. And their hearts gave out at 55, and their blood pressure was a catastrophe for 30 years before that. And they drank too much because the drinking was the only thing that got past the fucking wall, and nobody called that a pharmaceutical problem, even though the alcohol is a drug and self-medication is still fucking medication. The same philosophy, same destination, different vehicle. The Neogenian path, the path of consciousness, conscious emotional management, of feeling things fully, moving through them as the universe, moving through yourself, that path doesn't look strong by current cultural standards. It looks messy. It looks inconvenient. It looks like too much. But the people on that path still have functioning organs at 37, still have their minds intact, and still have something to say. The performers are dying. The feelers are building. Chew on that for a second. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking I'm irresponsible. No, actually, I'm quite disciplined. What I'm going to tell... that I'm going to get people hurt. Who? That mental illness is real and medication saves lives, and who am I to say otherwise? Oh, I don't know, a victim of the pharmaceutical industry as a child? Mental illness is real. I'm not arguing that for a second. I live in it every day. I'm arguing the philosophy underneath the treatment. I'm arguing the false foundation. I'm arguing that what happens when you build a treatment model on the assumption that consciousness is just the meat doing math and the meat is broken. Some of those medications extend some lives in some context. I'm not erasing that either. I'm saying the philosophy that produced them is wrong at the root, and the wrong roots produce poisoned fruit eventually. My friends are the evidence. Their organs are the evidence. Their death certificates don't tell the full story are the evidence. And I am the counter evidence. If you recognize yourself in this sermon, if you lost someone to the machinery, if you've been told your emotions are the problem, if something in you already knows the premise is wrong, you are not alone. You are not broken. You are the universe trying to know itself, and the system is afraid of what you might become if it lets you. We are building something different here. A new school of thought, Neogenian, unapologetic, built on the premise that you are the architect of your own reality, and no philosophy that profits from your dependence gets to tell you otherwise. The old world's thinking ends here. And I'd like to personally thank Morg for inspiring this video. Stay weird. Peace.